Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Has the notice been posted? Yes. Copy of it. Posted twice? Yep. Fine. Good to go. Okay. Can we read the notice of public hearing?
Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Monday, May 2nd, 2022, at 6 p.m. at the Burnett County Government Center in Room 165, Town of Meenan, Siren, Wisconsin, regarding the following. Variance 2206, Wilderness Fellowship. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Trade Lake, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Randy Clawitter, on behalf of Wilderness Fellowship, has made an application relative to a proposal to vary the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreland Protection Code of Ordinances as follows: to construct 2 cabins, each at a reduced wetland setback, located at 21897 Spirit Lake Road West in the RR3 and A2 zoning districts in Government Slot 1 and 2, Section 113718.
And we only got one, so we'll take that in order, of course. And then, so the hearing is being recorded, so we ask that one person speak at a time. Board asks that you come up and sit at the seat up here and present your case to us. And the board will ask any public comments or any received correspondence from local authorities or neighbors concerned the announced variance. Then the board will close that portion of the hearing and deliberate amongst ourselves. We may ask questions to clarify, but and then you'll know before we leave. We'll take our vote, and you'll know before you leave tonight what our determination is. Applicant, local officials, and DNR shall receive within 30 days a letter summarizing the hearing, also including information on applicants' rights to appeal the decision in circuit court within 30 days. Any person aggrieved by this decision, or taxpayer, or any officer, department, board of review, or bureau of the county may, within 30 days after filing of this decision in the office of the Board of Adjustment, commence an action in circuit court seeking remedy available by certiorari. So with that, if you want to come up, Randy, and take a seat there and present what you got. We've been out and looked at it, so we see what we know what you got out there.
Not really sure what I have to present, because you kind of know. We're in the process. We received back in September, October, we received a conditional use permit to move ahead with the development of up to 12 more prayer cabins and a shower house to keep us within the code requirements for those prayer cabins to have water access. Walking through, we have a number of things that we're trying to accomplish in that prayer cabin ministry, I'll call it, because it truly is that. And so in laying out this area, we want to try to accomplish keeping the solitude that the prayer cabins seem to require, seems to be very conducive to that type of a thing. We want to operate in a real quiet environment. We're tucked in, this is all tucked kind of in the center of our 250 acres of property. Aren't close to any other boundaries or borders or anything like that. We're wanting to maintain within that a very low impact on the environment around us, because which has been demonstrated, I guess, by in the previous prayer cabins, we literally build them, carry them in piece by piece. The log buildings that we have done in the past, we carried them down the trail, one stick at a time. It was like a nice big set of Lincoln logs. It was really kind of fun to do it in a bigger scale. Keeping a sense of community, and this is partially why these two areas come into play, is because we're wanting to keep the prayer cabins close enough together so that guests who come to those prayer cabins and sometimes we'll have 2 or 3 people who are each in a separate cabin, but they'll come together. And so we want them in a close enough proximity that they can actually walk to one another or gather together to go for a walk or something like that. So we want to try to maintain that sense of community. And because we have such a, I was telling Dennis, I said if we were to take and roll out our land flat, we'd probably have closer to 400 acres because it's so hilly and rolly, and we're limited just in ease of trying to build these prayer cabins due to the terrain that we're dealing with there. Basically, I want to try to utilize the wetlands and the terrain as the separations between these cabins. We have actually marked out marked out those cabins approximately. If you look at this map here, wherever I put the letters, that's another prayer cabin. They range from 100 feet to 145 feet apart, trying to keep them in a close. The center circle in the middle is actually the shower house, so that our guests will be able to go to, there's a requirement that we be within 400 feet of the shower house. And so this was actually done just for trying to figure out how to get electrical services in, but it shows you how they're spread out, at least through that property. On another map that I have, I don't know that I gave you one of these maps of our property. Did I, Dennis or Kathy, when you were out? Did I give you one of those? If you wanna look at that one, do you have one in your? Oh yeah, you've got that one there. Okay, so the we're trying to keep the prayer cabins in this central area, all really close. If you can't see, I can bring it closer, but we're trying to bring the prayer cabins all into this area just for that sense of community. The other thing that happens in the other areas of the wilderness is that because it's a camp, there's noise. There's kids that are involved in carpet ball or volleyball or disc golf or other things. And so we're trying to, instead of spreading into other parts of the property, we're trying to consolidate that all in a more purposeful, defined area that is specifically kind of set aside for that prayer cabin village. As guests drive in, we have a sign, you guys probably saw it, please keep this quiet. This is a zone where we want people to respect other people's desire for quiet. Because we have these potholes, water areas, wetlands kind of scattered all throughout the property, and ridges and different things, we are just trying to tuck the prayer cabins in such a way that not only are they conducive to that quiet community environment, but are not right in sight of another cabin. If you're in one cabin looking out your window, you don't want to be looking into or at another cabin. And so the best that we can is trying to keep them separated out, drop down in, if we can, behind these couple of ridges to help hide them. And then later on this summer, they get hidden even more by the green leaves that come out on the trees. So I guess, I've talked with neighbors. I have gone around and talked with neighbors who I let them know that they would be receiving a letter from this committee. And I addressed with them what we were hoping to do. And it's my understanding from all of those conversations, I had no negative responses from any of the neighbors as to that, nor did they feel like these would in any way adversely affect their property. The closest, I think we're about a quarter of a mile. What is a quarter mile? 1,300 some feet or whatever. I mean, we're a long ways away from any of the neighbors. It's tucked back into the woods. And so, as far as trying to protect their properties, doesn't really come into effect. I don't feel anyway. The two places that we are talking about, also between our proposed building site, for those of you who don't know, these are cabins that are smaller than 400 square feet. So the footprint is roughly 20 by 20, might be 21 by 18 or whatever, but that's the plan, is to be below 400 square feet. And in both of these places, between where we would like the edge of this cabin to sit and the place where your feet would start to get wet now, especially because it's spring and there's still water from that, there are trees that are in that zone that are 50 to 80 years old. So it's not, again, in my estimation, I humbly submit to you, it's not in a flood area where floods would have taken those trees out of in the last 40 to 80 years. We're just trying with these two cabins, both of them, to set them in a way that showcases the beauty of God's creation in the wetlands. It is gorgeous. I mean, if you guys ever just sit out there in the morning and you watch what happens as the dew rises off of wetlands, or as the frogs begin to sing, or the turtles begin to have a country music jam in the middle of the swamp, there's something just really beautiful about the wetlands, and we're wanting, as a Christian ministry, to just really glorify God in every aspect of His creation, and highlight the beauty of that wetlands, not wanting to cause harm or damage to it. There was one other thing I was going to mention, but it slipped my mind right now, so it might come up through some of your inquiries.
Okay.
Here's what it was. It was, and I know this doesn't have anything to do, but it just shares a little bit of my heart and vision for the expansion of the prayer cabins ministry. And maybe this doesn't matter to you, but it matters deeply to me. We see coming across my desk every week, and the most common prayer request that comes to my desk is pray for my marriage. And I think we all see the impact of what is happening in families across our communities, and we want to be aggressive to do something to help that. So we have been, 3 years ago, we started offering marriage conferences, marriage retreats, and the guests that would come to the marriage retreats would stay in the current prayer cabins that we have. We have 8 now, so that would allow for 8 couples. A nice setting for that, for our facilities, would be 20 couples, 40 people. And so we would love to be able to house those guests right on the wilderness property, so that when they come for that retreat or that parenting retreat that we're planning also, that they have places right at the wilderness to just stay and enjoy the beauty there without having to find another facility to stay, or a hotel or bed and breakfast or something. Not that we're opposed to hotels or bed and breakfast, but it's kind of nice to have everybody there. If we can build these 12 prayer cabins in this little area, that will bring our total to 20 of those little tiny cabins, and that would give us that kind of a opportunity for those 20 couples that could come to those marriage retreats. And I know that's just part of our vision. So it's a part of our heartbeat. And so it's not, and then for Jeremy, I don't know if you're familiar with the wilderness. I know Dennis has been out as our building inspector for these prayer cabins. Kathy and I had a great time just visiting too. I appreciate you taking the time to walk through. But the wilderness operates purely on donations, and purely without charges or fees. And so everything is on a donation basis there whenever groups come. And this September, we will celebrate 50 years in ministry out there. we have already had, back to the marriage retreats, 100 couples go through our marriage retreats with some very exciting and significant impact. So I just want to be able to expand, and my request would be that we be allowed to tuck these right down in there so that it's to our 12 if we can. That's, I'll field questions from you if you have them.
Questions?
You had mentioned a 400-foot requirement. Is that just something that's state imposed, self-imposed on the shore?
No, it's not self-imposed. It's a requirement it's actually kind of, as I understand it, it's a campsite requirement. Each of these prayer cabins, because they do not have indoor plumbing,
Correct.
are like a tent site. And so they're literally, in our licensing, they are considered a campsite, a tent site. Pretty fancy little tent site, but, and so therefore, that requirement says that we have to have a water source within 400 feet.
Okay.
And so that's what we're trying to do. The current prayer cabin village that we have now, Jeremy, has a shower house.
Yep.
And that's,
That's marked with the circle, the purple circle.
correct, yes. And then this one here we're proposing is the red one, so that we meet that requirement for people.
Were these laid out in the original 12 cabin request that was conditional use? Was,
Not specifically.
it was just a blanket 12?
In this general area.
Well,
Yep.
what was presented was this map, which did have them basically at the approximate site. I mean, within,
Well, even with it flagged out, it's hard to
Yeah.
actually
Yeah,
kind of get a
there was
ballpark of.
no detail of like, this one's gonna be 20 feet from the wetland or.
Right.
They
No,
weren't
no, no.
down to that
Yep.
detail level.
Yeah.
No.
These are asking for 10 feet from the wetland. Any other questions? Not, do we have any correspondence from any neighbors or?
No
town?
correspondence from the town or the neighbors. No.
They calling in, we don't have anything, call-ins or anything, right?
We have this thing from Ramona Moody from the township, right?
That was part of the CUP, right?
that was not specific, but it was, just
In support of the
support
condition.
of what we're doing. Yeah.
Of the prayer cap, 12 prayer cabins. Yep.
These are all on post and beam foundations?
They're on posts. They're on a post foundation.
So are they technically considered permanent structures or?
They would be, I'm sure. Dennis, wouldn't that be true? Yeah,
That's why they have to have inspections done too.
yeah. It's not well, nobody permanently dwells there, but, but,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Yeah, I just want to be sure those there isn't somebody living there, a single family or anything like that living in those. They're,
There's a permanent foundation.
Correct, I did just,
yeah. So we go down, put in frost footings, put in,
well, I did, the reason I say is because versus when you look at the other cabins that are there, I'm no environmentalist, but there isn't a whole lot of impact for the land compared to a poured basement foundation type of scenario where it is. So that's kind of
Correct.
like what I'm saying is they're
Yep.
pretty inconspicuous to me, like there wasn't much leaves on it, but you had to kind of look for the other cabins that were already existing throughout the facility there.
have you been through there before?
I hadn't before, so
You've been through there now, or?
this is the first time that I went through and took a tour of everything,
Okay,
trying to find everything.
Okay, so I was waiting for a call.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you around and
Yeah,
answer questions and so on, and I had tried to call you, but I didn't hear back from you, so I'm sorry that I missed that.
oh, no, not a problem.
I would have loved to have shown you around.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, we can close this portion of the hearing then, and then we will deliberate amongst
Can I
ourselves.
go sit in the gallery then?
With all the other people.
Has this ever happened before, where it's just one person?
Once in a while.
Okay.
Yep. Last month we had 5 applications, so.
Sure.
Is there a setback for, sheds, which, since these are
Everything has to be 40-foot setback, yep, shed, garage, house, any sort of structure, yep.
Ours with the three-step variance test, hard to get any of the three to beat this one.
mm-hmm.
There's enough property here in places to build this to make it work. There's not, so the unique property limitations doesn't come in. Harm to public interest, right off the wetland, from this DNR wetland regulations, you know, it's protect critical nesting and breeding habitat for hundreds of Wisconsin species. Wisconsin has lost over 50% of its historic wetland acreage. Of what's left, the majority of the Wisconsin wetlands, about 75% are owned privately. Continued development and population growth is decreasing them, and that's why we've got these rules to help move it over the next few years, I guess. Maintain its scenic beauty and all that good stuff, but critical nesting and breeding habitat for the hundreds of Wisconsin species is a big part of it. And then unnecessary hardship, self-created hardship. Case law doesn't allow that. So that's the thing we're struggling with this one, is to meet the 3 criteria.
So the only unnecessary hardship would actually be that distance from the shower house to the cabins. There's a site within the footprint.
You'd have to adjust that, you'd have to adjust the layout to meet that.
And are there places in that could be done and still accomplish the
Yeah,
privacy?
you could actually just slide each cabin back up the hill a little bit and you'd have it. Or adjust the whole thing, 250 acres there. Backed up on a little lot like we usually run into with this
Right.
stuff and things like that, unfortunately.
Am I able to speak at all, or no?
But we close that portion. Comments?
No, just thinking, like I said, the one is, I mean, it's pretty low now. Again, expertise is DNR, whatever. I don't think that there would be much impact to the wetland, but that's my personal opinion, on what it is. The second thing is we're talking just about the 2 wetland ones, the yellow highlighted. Everything else is fine on the permit. It just, those would have to be relocated somewhere, which is an inconvenience, obviously, but I think there is some options for that. There was an issue in the literature about funding, that was contingent on sites, or, implied that there was some funding for a spot down there. But again, when you look at the criteria, for moving it, that's doesn't meet the 3 that go. Financial hardship.
We can
Correct.
take into it. Discussion? Motion?
None. So this is just on these 2, this conditional use one, so. I'll make a motion to deny variance 2206 Wilderness Fellow to construct 2 cabins each with reduced wetland setbacks.
Motion, do we have a second?
I have to second it, yeah.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Unfortunately, our hands are tied on this one. There's nothing we can do on that, but,
And they're
the
at,
thing you're doing there, it's a neat spot, and
they're at 10 feet,
Just gonna
and they
have
need
to
to be
adjust
40.
them. You have to move that privy or something, just to slide them up the hill or something. Okay, so then
there any,
this is the appeal.
Well, you can appeal once,
Yes.
you can go to circuit court after this, yep.
Any person agree with this decision, or taxpayer, or any officer, department, board of review, or bureau of the county may, within 30 days after filing of this decision in the office of the Board of Adjustment, which is the county zoning office, commence an action in circuit court seeking remedy available by certiorari. Okay, so next on the agenda is we're gonna discuss whether we want to receive the DNR opinions on variance requests.
Yep. You'll see this email here, we got on April 14th from Mike Wenholtz. I think, Dennis, you were on the board when Mike Wenholtz used to be at the DNR. He actually came to one of our meetings, I think. Older, skinnier guy. And then, with some law changes that were done in 2015, he left DNR, now he's back. He's basically just wanting clarification to verify if we still want to have DNR opinions on variance requests. They used to always send us opinions on what they thought of variance requests. They haven't done that for 4 or 5 years, I suppose. We're just trying to update their list and see, trying to get input from every county to see if you guys want input.
Yeah. And so we did this before.
Yep.
And they asked the same thing. And
Yep.
we welcomed it. We just didn't have the opinion.
Yep.
You always say deny.
Yeah, you don't always have to agree with it, but they'll give you an opinion, you know.
They do review it. Unfortunately, they don't have a chance to go out to the site, which is what hurts it, but, no, we've always welcomed their opinion, what they looked at, so.
Okay.
I think it's a good.
Are they sent information about the hearing?
They get the whole thing like you guys get,
As
the
a
whole
just
packet,
a
the application
standard
packet.
procedure,
But
okay.
they don't, like Dennis said, they don't go out to the site. You know, they're doing a desktop
So different when you
review.
go out to the site and look at it,
Yeah,
They're looking at our GIS website probably is.
and then the wording and stuff, yeah.
Okay. So I will let them know. Let's see, do they want anything, like a motion? Let me see. I think it's good enough if you're just on the record that you want them to.
yeah, issue an opinion.
Yep. Okay.
Are you going to respond to that then?
Yep, I will respond to them. Let them know that.
So we don't need a motion or anything?
No.
Okay, so it's a 100% agreement, so.
Yep.
Is there anything else for me?
Oh, no, we're set, thanks. And then we got the, previous decisions signed.
Yep. There's all 5 of them. You want me to go over with them, or do you? That one, let's see, number 1. Well, that was the guy with the garage addition and the patio retaining wall violation. That one, that was the garage, turned into a bunkhouse at the meeting, selling trade lights. This was the house down on Mackenzie Lake, down by the lake shore, the pink existing house there, something pink colored. What was this one? Oh, this was the one by Lily Lake, Inn, right? On County Road A.
Yeah.
And this was the one down on Wood Lake, rebuilt cabin and garage over 5 years. Yeah, that should be it. I don't have,
Yeah, and then we need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I will second that.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I